Hey Courtney, what's your favorite thing about fall?
Well, I love the pumpkin patches, pumpkin spice lattes, Halloween, the weather's getting cooler. Oh, and now, thanks to Taylor, I love football.
Oh my god, yes, I'm the biggest Chiefs fan now.
Hello, and welcome to Moms for Book Liberty.
The podcast where a couple of moms fight back against groups trying to control what our kids can read.
With each episode focusing on a specific book that has found itself on the chopping block of censorship. Did you catch the Chiefs game last Sunday?
I actually missed it because I'm really bad about remembering that the game is on until after, but I saw like clips of it.
Yeah, I watched it with my daughters actually.
Are they into football now too?
Now they are. Well, they're really just more into my reaction whenever Taylor comes onto the screen. And so my husband and my son were playing video games in the next room, and every time Taylor came onto the screen, I like screamed and like got really excited. And
that's amazing.
Mainly for the girls' benefit, because they were just like, "What are you doing?" And they're like, "Why is Taylor at a football game?" And then my husband was like, "What is wrong with you? Like, did they score a touchdown?" I was like, "No, right. It was just Taylor."
I mean, everyone's excited to see her there. Even like the NFL like made their whole like TikTok says NFL Taylor's version.
Oh, that's so funny, because her Taylor's version of 1989 dropped today at the time of this recording, which is Friday, October 27th.
Yes.
So yeah, she's a big deal.
Yeah. And then now I didn't know much about Travis Kelce.
Oh, that's because he wasn't famous before.
I mean, thank you, Taylor, for putting him on the map.
She's really doing his career a favor.
Yes. I've loved seeing the videos of the guys getting so triggered by that trend. And it's just hilarious.
But I mean, really, she is doing him a favor, because I saw some statistic that, like, I wrote it down, now I can't find it, but when she's at his game, he averages 99 yards a game.
Oh, yes, I saw that.
But when she's not at his game, he averages, let me think, I gotta look back in my notes. It was 36 or 46.5. So that is, I mean, almost double. I mean,
so she's improving his game. She really is putting him on the map.
Yeah, she really is. Whether you like her music or not, you have to admit that, she is a huge deal. Here's a post from Instagram from Mad Over Marketing, and it says, Taylor is bringing her widely popular tour to movie theaters, which, did you go to that?
I want to. I haven't yet. Okay. I keep telling my daughter we're going to go.
Which is like, that's such a cool idea, right? So what's the first thing that happened? Well, AMC's theater stock rose by 6% in a single day because she announced the movie theater tour.
Wow.
Then AMC's site crashed because they just could not handle the demand. And yet, Taylor broke the record for the highest pre-sales for a movie.
And she's got like the #1 movie right now, too.
Movie.
Right.
It's just a video of her concert, right?
Yeah. And, I saw a tweet recently and I loved it. I don't have it with me, so it's not word for word, but it said, now we need to get her to visit a library.
Yes.
And I was like, yes, that's what we need.
Because she's already done amazing things for voting,
yes,
voter registration, and she's a huge proponent for the LGBTQ community.
Yeah.
I just can't believe she broke the highest pre-sales for a movie in 24 hours, ahead of Avengers and Spider-Man.
She's killing it.
Yeah.
And I love that for her. I'm 43, but I'm over here like gushing over her new relationship, and I'm so happy for her.
Yeah, and like she's doing a really healthy, happy relationship.
Yes.
I mean, who really knows ever, but yeah.
I don't watch football, or I didn't before. So I didn't really know that much about Travis. And he seems like such a great guy, because now that the more I learn about him, he is not like this toxic masculine guy. He's huge, he's buff, he's like everything an alpha male should be, but he's not toxic.
Exactly.
And I'm like, yes, this is what she needs. This is,
and of course
this is great for girls.
She chose right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is great for girls. That's a really good point. So, you heard it from us first. Taylor's the best.
She is. We're in love.
Actually, I'm sure you heard it from so many people first. I saw some other post about, like, how much more money she made.
Oh, my God.
Than Travis. And which is, like, obviously we don't have to point that out. And I'm sure she doesn't hold that over his head. But it's just, like, it's such a nice flip-flop.
Yes.
Oh, and didn't you see something somewhere where his new title is Taylor's boyfriend.
Yes, I was about to say that. And I love the way he just takes it in stride. Like, he doesn't get upset by that. Like, again, not toxic. He just laughs it off. He thinks it's great.
Because I got...
Awesome.
Yeah, he is awesome. Because I remember getting, like, slightly irritated at being introduced as, like, Blake's wife over and over again. I don't know where it was. It was, like... I think it was, like, when I was a teacher. And for whatever reason, Blake was also a teacher. And so we were both at the same school, in the same school district, right? So we knew a lot of people. But I would always get introduced as Blake's wife. Not like,
another employee.
Yeah, like, not Courtney. And he was never, like... introduced as Courtney's husband.
Right.
And so I was at some event and I was like, I got really snarky. I thought it was being funny, but I think they were like, oh man, we're really sorry to offend you. I was like, I'm just, I'm being funny about it.
But yes, you did offend me a little bit.
I was like, why isn't it, Courtney's husband?
But I do love how they're playing on that. And I like the way he takes it. And there was also an episode, because he has a podcast with his brother.
Oh.
And his brother was talking about, he showed up to an award with like shorts or something. And, his brother was giving him a hard time. Like, oh, why'd you do that? Travis to his brother.
Uh-huh.
And so he was like trying to blame his wife. Like, oh, she didn't bring me my pants.
Oh,
and he was like, oh, yeah, she must have been so busy with, the 3 kids, getting them ready. And he totally called them out on it.
Why can't you remember your pants?
Right. And the cool thing about it, because I like his brother a lot now, too.
Yeah.
Is that he was like, yeah, you're right. It's my fault.
That is so cool.
And I mean, they're like, I'm looking at it and I'm like, these are great examples for boys to have. Mm-hmm. And, they're football players. They're that masculine guys that, people like to idolize. Mm-hmm. But they're not toxic. I'm like, these are the guys that we should have, who we should give microphones to.
Absolutely.
Finally, some dudes with microphones that aren't dicks.
Exactly. But yeah, back to your point on putting Taylor in the library. Mm-hmm. I think, she's done such a good job at encouraging people to stand up for what they believe in and to, just really just do what's right. And speaking of doing what's right, Scholastic is making steps, maybe. I'm not giving Scholastic a gold star.
Right.
But they are making steps to maybe do the right thing. Because I saw a post on Instagram, because let's face it, that's where I get my news.
Me too.
And my husband, Courtney's husband. Courtney's husband also provides the news. The post was made by Equality Florida. And it is a letter from Scholastic to the authors and illustrators saying, I want to update you regarding the book fairs, share every story / celebrate every voice case. First, I want to apologize on behalf of Scholastic. Even if the decision was made with good intention, we understand now that it was a mistake to segregate diverse books in an elective case. We sincerely apologize to every author, illustrator, licensor, educator, librarian, parent, and reader who was hurt by our action. We recognize and acknowledge the pain caused and that we have broken the trust of some of our publishing community, customers, friends, and trusted partners and staff. And we also recognize that we will now need to regain that trust. So that was in response to saying that they weren't going to have diverse books at book fairs?
Well, I think it was they were going to have a collection that was optional. So the schools could decide if they wanted this diverse collection or not.
So not just at book fairs, like just at schools?
Well, I'm not sure. I think it was at the book fairs, like at the school book fairs.
At the school book fairs.
So they could opt in to having it. Mm-hmm. So if they didn't, that meant it was just going to be a bunch of white authors, I guess. Straight white authors.
Right. And it took that... And the fact that they had to realize that is just embarrassing. Yeah. But they do get some credit for apologizing.
They do. But then they also put out a statement, like just to everyone, where they did backtrack and say they're not going to offer that anymore. Like not make it a choice, but it's kind of unclear if that means those books are just going to be integrated into the regular book fair.
Okay.
Or they're just not going to offer them at all. It's not very clear. So people are a little skeptical about what their intent is going to be.
Yeah, because, you know, Scholastic is just a company trying to make money at the end of the day. And they're going to do what's best for their pockets, unfortunately. But yeah, I guess we'll have to wait and see. Maybe we'll give you an update next episode to see, you know, what Scholastic is doing, if there's been any progress. But I'm hoping that they just integrate all the books.
Right.
And they just, I mean, because they have to have some sort of process of choice when they're making those book fair magazines that the kids always come home with,
right?
And circle all the books that they want to buy when they go to the book fair.
And before, they've always had a nice, diverse,
yeah.
A selection of books.
Yeah, you want to have a diverse selection. Yeah, and not like a separate package for the racist schools to say, right. You know what? No, we're good.
Yeah, or no, I don't want that.
You know what? I shouldn't say racist schools, because it's not really that the schools are racist. It's that they're afraid of a lawsuit.
Yes.
Because they want to focus on education, and they're in a hard place. So
they're afraid of the racist parents.
Exactly. Yes. Speaking of scholastic book fairs, did you see that one district is requiring permission slips for book fairs?
Oh, in Brevard County, right? Or down south, somewhere down south.
Yeah, somewhere in South Florida, of course. I feel like everything happens in South Florida.
Yeah. Ridiculous. But yeah, can you imagine having to send a permission slip? Isn't it permission when we send money so that they can buy whatever we want?
Well,
whatever they want?
That was my first thought, but then I remembered there are a lot of really generous parents.
That's true.
When I was a teacher, and they would send $20 in a little envelope with a note to me that says, please use this $20 on a student who doesn't have book fair money. Because it's so sad when little kids are like, I really want that book, but my mom didn't send me with any money.
I know.
Which is me. I'm that mom that sent them all to the book fair and didn't give them money. Because the last time I sent them to the book fair with money, they combined, I have 3 kids, they combined all their money and bought a slime kit.
I bet. I already knew where that was going, because I volunteer for these things sometimes, and I see what they get, and it's they're always trying to buy these ridiculous, why
are they even an option?
And
it's
they're $40.
It's not a toy fair. No. Scholastic, if you're listening right now, please stop selling slime at your book fair.
But that's our moneymaker, right? So again, they're not going to stop.
I know. But I think next year, when the youngest one is a little bit older, I'll be like, listen, here's $20. You have to buy at least one book.
Yeah, that's usually what I do.
Yeah.
I send them in. I'm like, you have to come back with at least one book.
Yeah.
And a thick book, a normal book, not a little skinny,
Yeah. Or when I was a kid, my mom would be like, you can only buy one eraser. But back then, you could get an eraser for $1.
Right. I know. They're $4.50 for a little tiny eraser. I'm like, what is going on? But
so that's the update in terms of crazy book-related things, right? Or are we missing anything?
I think that's it. I guess it would be a cool thing to ask, what do you guys think about a permission slip? Are you for it or against it?
Yeah, let us know. Because right now it's I think it should be, you know what? There's a mom in Miami, and she has an account called
Moms for Libros.
Yeah. And she's formed this pretty big following on social media, and she's just kind of an activist, and probably more of an activist than us, because we just bitch on the podcast. But
and I feel like Miami and South Florida has had a lot more happening than Flagler has lately.
Right. Yes, exactly. And so anyway, she actually was interviewed about this.
Oh yeah.
And she said it should be an opt-out, and I agree.
Yes, I agree. I agreed with that too. Because opt-in, a lot of kids, she said, a lot of parents just don't notice those forms, won't realize they have to opt in.
Mm-hmm. Or they'll lose it.
Yeah.
They'll lose it or something. Yeah.
So it should be an opt-out.
Yeah.
If they're going to do it at all. I don't think.
Speaking of book fairs, and the book we're actually covering today is called Pumpkin Heads by Rainbow Rowell, and it is a New York Times best-selling novel that is a graphic novel with just beautiful, bright illustrations. And that is how you get kids to read.
Yes. And graphic novels are my son, he's a good reader, but he prefers a graphic novel over anything else.
Yeah, same. It's not an intelligence issue. It's just, I'm a kid and I like colorful pictures, and I'm overstimulated, every day. So in order, if you ask me to read a book without any pictures and focus on it's just going to be a big ask for them. So
yeah.
So this book wouldn't be at an elementary school book fair, though.
Probably not, no.
Yeah. And I'm not this isn't the hill I'm choosing to die on, to make, one specific book be available at an elementary school book fair. But I think it's sort of like a canary in the coal mine, if you will, situation where it's this book that we're covering in today's episode, the front cover of it, and we'll post a picture, is a black teenager and a white teenager, and they're laying in a pumpkin patch, and they're both wearing pumpkin overalls. And the author's name is Rainbow. right?
Right.
And I know I'm jumping to conclusions here, but it's okay. This is my podcast and I can do whatever I want. But this book, I think, was flagged,
Right.
by Moms for Liberty and whoever as probably potentially being inappropriate because, it features diverse characters, right? And the author's first name is Rainbow. And I've heard homophobic people talking about how the rainbow was stolen and blah, blah, blah.
my
and so,
God.
they
Yes.
associate, anything rainbow is associated with LGBT.
Yes, anything.
Community. Yeah. So I'm sure someone picked this up and was like, you know what? I'm going to add this to the list. And the list that we're talking about is Book Look, whatever. And it's Moms for Liberty's, list.
Right.
Right? And so this is on Book Look, but it's rated a 1 out of 5.
A 1 out of 5. So it's not... because there's really nothing to rate in this book that's bad.
Right. But it's still there.
So there's not even usually there's 2 or 3 pages of pages, page 8, they said this or this was on there. So it doesn't even have that. So it just has a summary of concerns and this book contains references to sexuality. And that's because Deja, the female character, is bisexual. And you only know that because she meets her ex-girlfriend, in the pumpkin patch. And then she also has an ex-boyfriend. So.
And the characters in this book are 17. They're about to go to college.
They're in their high school year, about to graduate.
Right. And so that's another thing that I don't understand is if you're reading a book where the characters are, let's just say 10.
Right.
And they're in a relationship. If they're 10 years old and they're, declaring their sexuality, I could understand why parents would be concerned because as a parent of a 10-year-old myself, I don't want my 10-year-old to be in a sexual relationship, obviously.
Right.
These are 17-year-olds that have, they already know their sexual preferences and they're in a sexual relationship.
Well, and there's no sex in the book at all, or anything like that.
Okay.
So there's a kiss at the end. This is just about this is their last year working at the Pumpkin Festival, which is something they've done every fall.
Let's talk about the kiss. I guess as a parent of a 10-year-old, and you can give me your opinion on this too, I wouldn't be super thrilled about my 10-year-old kissing someone, whether it's a boy or a girl.
Right.
10 is too young to be kissing,
young, yeah.
right? But the question is 10 too young to read a book about someone kissing someone?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
They see me kiss my husband, you know, so it's not...
So the question is it bad for a girl to kiss a girl? Or is it bad for a girl to kiss a boy? Or whatever? I feel like people are, mad, or parents get mad if their kid is reading a book about a girl kissing a girl, but they wouldn't be mad about a book where a girl kisses a boy.
Right. And that's what it comes down to. This isn't even about the kiss. And that's not their issue. It's the references to her sexuality.
Oh, okay.
So I don't even think they care that there's, a kiss at the end.
Yeah.
And again, Disney movies, they always have kissing. So, I don't see kissing as, a big deal.
Right. And they declare their sexuality by kissing a boy. If you are a girl who kisses a boy, you're declaring your sexuality as either, heterosexual or bisexual. So
their issue is with the LGBTQ sexuality.
Exactly.
That didn't make sense.
LGBTQ.
I always get tongue-tied.
Mafia.
Yes, the alphabet mafia.
That's what they call it.
I swear, I'm every time I say it, I stumble on it, and I'm just dumb like that.
No.
But yeah, it comes down to that. It's because she's bisexual. That's the sexuality that they have a problem with.
So I guess
if you're gay or bisexual or trans or anything other than straight.
So then that means this book is illegal to be in an elementary classroom because of the Don't Say Gay law.
Right.
Because the law that's up for interpretation to the school board is for only regards to sexual conduct in high school, I think. But there's very specific language in the Don't Say Gay law that says the only thing that can be taught it literally says this: heterosexual marriages and abstinence. Unless you're married, right?
Right.
So it's very specific language. 1950s, Leave It to Beaver Family is what that law is basically describing. So this book, being that it features a bisexual character, legally could not be in the library?
Apparently not, no.
Because the law used to say, you just can't instruct it. Okay, what teacher is going to teach that anyway?
Although...
First of all, it's not going to be a lesson.
There's also that law... has to do with classroom instruction.
That's
so
my question.
I think in the library, it can still be allowed. But the problem is people are reading that law and saying, oh, look, no, it says that we can't do it. We don't even want it in the library because we don't want that heat.
So yeah, that's where, again, we find ourselves in this conversation is the law is confusing.
Yes.
And schools are erring on the side of caution. And at the expense of an entire identity of people. And people from LGBTQ families are kids from LGBTQ families. Like, let's just, a 10-year-old may not be bisexual, but they might have an older sibling who's bisexual. And this sends a message that their older sibling is wrong in some way. That makes them associate school with negativity. And that's the last thing we want is for kids to associate school with anything negative.
There's a similar website that has not ratings, but, gives you like feedback on books, right? Because we were talking about
Common Sense Media,
yeah. So they've added something about diversity on their ratings, and I just read it. Hold on. So on commonsensemedia.org, they have this book listed as well. They just review all kinds of books and just give like age recommendations, which this one they recommended 12 and up. At the bottom, it says, did we miss something on diversity? And this is research shows a connection between kids' healthy self-esteem and positive portrayals in media.
Wow.
That's why we've added a new diverse representation section to our reviews that we will be rolling out on an ongoing basis.
Wow.
So, like, they're acknowledging that representation matters. It's like what a lot of people are saying. Like, we want to be represented. It's not saying that we're not asking you to be okay with it. We're just asking you to let us be in this space as well.
Exactly. And I think that Moms for Liberty, instead of, and they don't take ownership of the Book Look website, but we think that it's there. It doesn't matter. We don't really care. But if they were just using Common Sense Media as a parent, and they were just like, hey, I read this book and this is what I think about it, then that's a different story. Like, I agree with like parents going to a website like Common Sense Media and, previewing a movie. Like, I did that for the Goosebumps.
Right.
Like, I wanted to watch the new Goosebumps on Disney. Have you seen it? You would like it.
I think so. With Jack Black?
No. That's not new. Like, new this year.
No, I haven't seen it.
It's a new Goosebumps. I love how distracted we're getting, but it's a new Goosebumps TV show that just came out on Disney Plus. And I'm like, oh, it's on Disney. Maybe I can watch it with my kids. No, I cannot watch it with my kids.
It's a little too scary.
It is way too scary. And I looked at Common Sense Media and I was like, okay, no, I can't do this. And I think like the same can be applied to books.
Right.
And instead of like spearheading this like anti-book campaign where we're, going into libraries and taking everything out, like leave it in the library. And just go to Common Sense Media.
Right. Or even to Book Looks, if that's what you want to use. Like, I don't have an issue with that website per se. I just have an issue when they start using it to challenge books, like word for word, what's in there.
That's the point of that website. Right. Which is why, like, Common Sense Media it doesn't have, like, the exclusive goal of taking down public education.
Yeah.
Whereas Book Look, I think, is a bit more nefarious in their intentions.
The people who back it, well, I don't know who's backing it. So, but just the way it's been used.
Yeah, the way it's been used.
Is what gives that implication. And I have heard that there are some school boards that have tried to pass it as dangerous. As like...
they should use Common Sense Media.
Right. Or they already have media specialists who are trained to use them.
Right. Use the media specialists because they're the professionals. Yeah. Because like Book Look doesn't have Of Mice and Men on there, for example, which is a book that, a parent should be concerned about their child reading if this parent is also concerned about them reading Pumpkinheads, for example.
Right.
But that's not on there because it doesn't have a gay character in it, and it doesn't have, a biracial relationship. Yeah. And it's just not a diverse book.
And the thing, too, is I also think Rowell, the author, has other books that are more YA. Well, this is a YA graphic novel too, but other books that have been challenged, I believe, and that have more sexual content within the pages. And I think that's why this book is on there. Like, if they didn't have their eyes on the author already, so what they do is like,
are all of her books on Book Look then?
I didn't look.
Okay.
So I'm just speculating on this part. But I know that there's other books like Fangirl. is a really popular book. I didn't realize it. I have that book at home. I haven't read it, but my daughter had it, and she's not a big reader. So they find like popular books, and then they find something that's wrong with it, and then they try to ban it. And I'm like, you finally have a book that kids want to read, and this was a couple years back, but then you start to nitpick at everything that's in this book to get these kids to stop reading instead of being happy that they're finally reading books.
Yeah, and I just looked it up, and Fangirl is on there along with Eleanor and Park and Wayward Son. So only 4. Oh, and I can see they're rated a little bit higher.
Yeah. So what they do is they'll find an author that they have an issue with, and then they'll review all their books.
Gotcha.
And that's problematic because you're not just looking at broad-based books. You're like, oh, I don't like this author. They put something in here I don't like.
Yeah.
Now we got to see what else is in all their books.
Yeah. You know what would be a fun data analysis activity is if we created like a visual graph showing how many of the authors on this book report website were diverse authors.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, so this book itself, even they rated it a 1 out of 5. There's nothing wrong with the book. I haven't seen that it's been challenged anywhere yet, or, I just don't have that information. But there's nothing wrong with it, but I could see a parent being like, oh, well, she's bisexual. I don't like that. I don't want it.
It just adds to the already dangerous narrative that is being pushed and continuing to grow. And this podcast and groups like Stop Moms for Liberty and Moms for Libros are pushing back on that narrative. But I stand by my opinion, which is, it's dangerous for even innocent books like this to be on the radar. I don't know. I guess it's just a shame that like this book never has a chance of being at an elementary school. Because is there what is wrong with this book for elementary school kids?
I didn't really see anything that was problematic.
Okay, because I didn't read it, because we're actually going to try out a new layout for this episode and see if we like it. We're going to do it for the next episode. I didn't read the book. Jennifer did read the book. So Jennifer is about to tell me about the book. And what I'm curious about is, if it is appropriate, quote unquote appropriate, because my opinion really is like if you can read a book, it's appropriate. But I understand not everyone has that opinion. But is it appropriate for elementary school kids if all it's doing is referencing a bisexual character? Because elementary school kids, a lot of them know that people can be bisexual. So let's just jump into it. Jennifer, tell me about the book so me and all of our listeners can decide whether or not, this could be in an elementary school.
So the book is it's a simple story. It's really cute. It's 2 characters are the main characters, Josiah and Deja. And every fall they work at this fall festival, at this pumpkin patch. And they're like best friends while they work. So they're like fall best friends. This is their last day, the last day of the festival, and the last day that they will be working it because they're seniors this year and they're graduating and then they're going off to college. So Josiah has always been like a stellar employee of the year, I guess.
Employee of the month?
Of the month, yeah.
Yeah, I saw there was a picture where his he had like all of the posters up and it was Josiah for every month.
So he's like definitely a hard worker and like he loves the pumpkin patch. And it's his last day. And Deja has always worked with him. She's a little bit more laid back, also a good employee. But Josiah has had a crush on the fudge shop girl since day one. And so Deja's whole premise is it's the last day, you have to go talk to her. So the whole story is about trying to get him to find her.
So it says, I can't talk to her, Deja. You know I can't. Josie, you have to. She calls him Josie?
Josie, okay. Yeah.
You've been mooning over her loudly and at length for 3 years. You can't just never talk to her.
Yeah, so that's like the whole premise of the book is him trying to find her or them trying to find her because
she sounds like a funny character.
Oh yeah, she's so funny.
She says, Josiah Templeton, you are a timid little bunny rabbit who has spent 3 years hiding down in that succotash hut from any hope of romance.
Do you know what succotash is, and by the way?
Do you?
No, apparently it has to do with lima beans, but I have no clue what it is.
Oh, I don't either.
But yeah, so they're on this, mission to find her. And apparently this pumpkin patch is pretty big. So they go to where she was supposed to be. And she has been sent, the fudge girl has been sent to a different section to work at a different station.
But this is still in the same pumpkin.
In the same patch, yeah.
Wow, this is a giant pumpkin patch.
I know, it sounds huge. So then they're trekking their way over there to try to find her, and things happen along the way. Deja wants to stop to get food at every stop because she's like, this is my last day too, and I want to experience the whole farm.
Okay, so do they stop at the Pie Palace?
They stop at the Pie Palace. They make s'mores, and then along the way, there's every time she gets food, something happens. Like a kid steals her bag of popcorn, or there's a little girl that's hungry, so they give her their food. Along the way, she runs into a lot of her exes because Deja is really outgoing. Mm-hmm. So she's Josiah or Josie, he's very mellow and he's very focused on doing his job and being the best at it. And Deja's just very outgoing.
Oh yeah, here's the part where they went to Pappy's Apples to get a caramel apple, and while they're waiting in line, she's like, this is my last chance to have a double dipped Granny Smith. And then she sees her ex and she says, hi, there's my ex. Which one? Apparently she has a lot.
Yes.
Jess, don't look. Which Jess? Apparently there's more than one Jess. The sire. Whatever that. And so Jess, the sire, who's this cute little redhead with freckles and braids, says, Deja. And then Deja says, oh, Jess, hi. Hi, Josiah. How's life at the pony go round? Oh, And does anything else happen other than just the fact that they're just two girls?
That's it.
Okay.
That's it. And they dated in the past.
That's it.
So that's the only mention to her, really being...
She says, oh, the patch won't be the same without you next year, Deja, because Deja's going off to college. And then it pans to a funny look on Deja's face. And that's it. So nothing scandalous.
No, nothing scandalous. And that's pretty much it. They go back and forth. You get the feeling along the way that Deja's had a crush on Josiah.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
Because along the way you find out she chose to stay with him. She picked him as her partner to work with. And then every year she kept picking him and kept staying at whatever station he picked. Which he didn't even have a clue that you could pick a different station. Which is just a funny element to the story.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it at the end. But she's still trying to have him
She's helping him meet the girl of his dreams.
Right.
Even though she kind of likes him.
And it's a girl that he's never talked to. He's just seen her.
Okay, the fudge girl.
He's never had the nerve to talk to
And
the
is her name Marcy?
Marcy or Mercy? Marcy. I think it's Marcy.
Okay.
So finally, at the end of the night, he gets on a hayride with a girl. The last hayride. Marcy.
Okay.
And he talks to Marcy. And Marcy does not like the farm, does not like working at the pumpkin patch, and she's not anything that he expected her to be. And so he asked her, why do you even work here if you hate it so much? And she said, this is where all my friends are, and I just want to be around them. And it kind of clicked for him that he wanted to be around the important people on his last day. Mm-hmm. Because she wanted to go on this hayride with her friends, and they didn't make it for some reason. Mm-hmm. So then, it clicked for him. He jumps off the hayride, goes back to find Deja, and that's when he kind of realizes, I've been wasting my time going after Marcy when Deja, who's everything that I actually like, is right here. So then that's when he kisses her.
Oh.
And
that's the scandalous kiss?
That's the scandalous kiss. Which I'm not even sure if it's scandalous even to there, because they didn't mention it either, to be fair. Mm-hmm. But I think the scandalous part is her being bisexual.
Okay. And that was just one scene where she saw Jess at the caramel apple stand?
Yeah.
So here's the end of the book where they kiss. You're my best friend. You're better than my winter, spring, and summer friends. This is Josiah talking to Deja. You're better than anyone I know. And it shows a picture of her hands trembling. What are you doing, Josie? She asks. You told me to take my shot. Are you about to kiss me? No, not now. Maybe, eventually, only if you want me to. And the illustrations in this are so, well drawn, and the facial expressions are really good, and it shows him looking super nervous. And then he says, Deja, I don't want October to be over because October means you. Are you kidding me? No, I'm too nervous to kid. Are you kidding me? No? ? Did you really spend 3 years talking to me about another girl just to do this on our last night? I guess so. Do you want me to stop? It's just, what if I don't like you that way? We're friends, Then we can pretend this never happened. Okay, well, what if I do like you that way? I don't know. I've never been in that situation before. What if I liked you that way a long time ago, then got tired of waiting for you to take the hint? I'm sorry, Deja. You know how I am. And then the goat eats her caramel apple, which is kind of funny. What do we do now? I didn't rehearse this. I think we go to Walgreens and buy half-price candy. Okay.
Because that's like their ritual every year.
Oh, okay, for Halloween. And then it shows her stepping closer to him, and then she kisses him.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Which I think is like a really nice element to the story, because she's like, "Are you going to kiss me?" And then I think, it's a good model of him, not just like, in the movies where like the man kisses the woman without her permission. It's really important to model like the permission is needed, and you can't just like go in and like kiss someone without their permission. So, and then it's the last picture of the book is them walking away in the pumpkin patch. Honestly, I would just read this book for the illustrations.
Yeah, it's really cute.
So my daughter read this book. I actually brought it home with the full intention of reading it, but I didn't get around to it because my life is crazy. But she read it and she liked it, and it only took her like 2 hours to read it.
It took me longer. That's embarrassing.
But I think she was really attracted to the illustrations, and you were saying something about Moms for Liberty, saying that like their whole shtick is they're trying to improve reading levels, right?
Right.
But that's problematic.
Yeah, like they're trying to, I think, rebrand, because they have gotten a lot of hate for banning so many books or challenging them. So now their new thing is like, oh yeah, they want to help improve reading, and they want to, implement some stuff, which I don't trust them. Mm-hmm. But anyways, the whole thing though is, if that's your intention, if that was really your intention, you would not be banning books. You would not be, because what happens is this book, there's nothing wrong with it, right?
No.
But because there's a bisexual character, it won't be in the school library.
Right.
And that's a shame, right?
Yeah.
That's the issue right there.
Exactly.
So representation matters. Mm-hmm. These books aren't available. Mm-hmm. And of course they'll say like, oh yeah, you can buy it. The whole thing that they always say, you can go to Amazon, blah, blah, blah. These kids can't do that,
right? And that's, the kids that don't have parents or adults or whatever that like take them to the store and say, pick out any book you want. Those are the kids that need access to books the most. And we're not talking about just so that they have like a diverse perspective. We're talking about so that they have opportunities to improve their reading levels. Because that's the only way that you can really improve your reading level, is by having access to books that you like to read, that you want to read.
Right.
Because I've tried to force my kids to read certain books.
Me too.
I love Harry Potter, and I started reading Harry Potter when I was 11. And my daughter's about to be 11, so I'm like, just read the first book so, like, we can bond over it, And she's like, no, I don't want to. So, you can't force kids to read books that they're not into.
Right.
And so if you start taking these kinds of books out of the library, I'm talking elementary school, because that's where reading levels are so important. You have to establish good reading practices that, as young as possible.
Right.
And that really determines how you do in math, in science, in, history. It's like, if you cannot read, you're not going to excel in anything else.
Right.
And so Moms for Liberty's shtick of saying, oh, they're trying to improve reading levels is just complete and utter bullshit, because what they're doing is limiting the books like Pumpkinheads, which is like such a popular book for kids. And really, they're just hurting kids in the long run.
And statistics show that when kids self-select a book, they are better readers. They're more likely to read the book to completion.
Exactly.
They'll want to read. So when we're limiting the books and what they have access to, and now they go into the library and they don't see something that gets their attention. Now you have a kid that doesn't want to read. So how is that helping?
Yeah. Going back to what my daughter said about this book was that, she said, Mom, there's a lot of immature kids at my school that might not, handle the fact that there's a bisexual character. If more books with diverse characters existed, let's just say even at the kindergarten level, then it would just be normalized, and they wouldn't have anything to make fun of.
Right.
Because it's just normal. And
but that's what they don't want to normalize that.
They don't want to normalize it. Yeah.
That's the issue right there.
So the fact that, this book was flagged for having a bisexual character is so stupid and disappointing, because there are so many other positive messages in this book that an elementary school kid could benefit from, such as the body types of the characters.
Yes.
Deja is a curvy, how does the author describe her? A chubby Gabrielle Union?
Yes.
Is Gabrielle Union the gymnast?
No, she's from Step Up? No, not Step Up.
Oh,
the cheerleading. She's an actress.
Oh, okay. I know there's a Gabrielle gymnast. I don't know.
I can't think of her name right now.
Gabby something, right? She's the first black gymnast to win an American gold medal.
Yeah.
But her name's Gabby, so I don't know.
I'm terrible. Right now.
I'm terrible with pop culture.
I'm terrible with names.
So anyway, the author describes her as like a chubby Gabrielle Union, and she's also the same height as Josiah.
Which was on purpose too. You know, the author says in the book she wanted her to be tall, which also, like, hello, we have tall girls. And she didn't want her to be like a petite, small framed person. She didn't want to, how can I put that? She didn't want to...
Here's what it says.
She wanted to normalize that this body is normal and okay.
So she's normalizing diverse body types. Yeah. In an interview in the back of the book, it says, I wanted to push back on the idea that a girl needs to be small and petite to be completely adorable. And Deja is completely adorable.
She is.
But she's the same height as Josiah, and she's not, you know, a stick. Like, she's a curvy teenager, which, you know, like you were saying, representation matters.
Yeah.
And it also, it builds confidence.
Exactly.
And I saw a study somewhere where it's like girls get all the confidence, or most of their confidence, in elementary school. It's like, you don't just like, you know, wake up one day as like a confident woman. Like as a growing girl, like things happen to you and you either become super confident or super, you know, or you start lacking that confidence. And it just sort of grows as you get older.
Okay.
So it's important that, you know, that at a very young age, characters like, you know, diverse characters, and we're not talking just like skin color and sexual identity, but we're talking about like body type too, are painted in a positive light to give confidence to everybody.
Exactly.
And that's a really important message for girls and boys, for everyone. And non-binary people. It's a if my daughter was here, she'd be like, Mom, just say people.
I love the kids now because they're like, this is what you need to say. Like, don't make it so difficult. And I'm over here like saying it a million ways except the right way.
Yeah. My kids are always calling me out. That's good though.
It is. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that was Pumpkinheads by Rainbow Rowell. It was illustrated. We're so sorry. Faith Erin Hicks. We need to give massive credit to Faith Erin Hicks, right?
Yeah, definitely. Because, I mean, it's beautifully illustrated.
Yes. And I think I misspoke. No, it was Rainbow. Rainbow said she was talking. It was an interview with the illustrator. Okay. And she was telling the illustrator what she wanted her characters to look like. And Faith Erin Hicks, I mean, I'm going to just like Google anything that was illustrated by Faith Erin Hicks so that I can just read or look at her illustrations because I'm just so drawn to the pictures.
Yeah. And again, it's a good fall book. You know, like it's got all the fall vibes.
Go get yourself a pumpkin spice latte.
Yes.
And pick up a copy of this book. And don't ban books.
Ban bigots. This episode has been engineered and mixed by your hosts, Jennifer Mendoza and Courtney Green.
Be sure to follow our show on Twitter at Moms for Book Lib and Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Moms for Book Liberty with the number 4.
And leave us a review on Amazon Music or Apple Podcasts, or you can rate us wherever you listen to podcasts.